The Mariners are buyers after all. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Monday, August 3rd, 2026. My name is Taddy Gonzalez, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Colby Patno. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Join all the action at FanDuel.com to play daily dingers. Make your free pick on who's hitting a homer this MLB season. The Mariners are officially buyers at this year's trade deadline. They have acquired right-handed hitting outfielder Taylor Ward from the Baltimore Orioles for pitchers Brock Moore, Alex Hoppe, and Harrison Kreiling. Ward is a rental. You are only getting him for the next couple of months, hopefully a little bit more than that in the playoffs, but we'll see. This year, in his first year with the Orioles, after being traded to Baltimore from the Angels for Grayson Rodriguez this offseason, is slashing .246, .383 with a .346 slugging percentage. That slug has completely vanished for Ward. It has fallen from .475 last year, a year in which he hit 36 bombs with the Angels, down to .346. But because of that .383 on base percentage that I mentioned, which is by far a career high for him, still got a .117 WRC plus this year. And that is thanks in large part to a 17.2% walk rate. He is second among all major league hitters in walks with 87, just second to James Wood of the Washington Nationals. Pretty good. But of course, like we've talked about with this offense, the Mariners need to hit more homers. And this version of Taylor Ward, Colby, does not help with that. Now, if they can get him closer to the version of Taylor Ward we saw with the Angels last year and the year before that, that would certainly help. Still, though, he's a right-handed presence that this lineup desperately needed, especially with the 141 WRC plus that he's posting against the lefties this year. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's reasonable. I think it's measured. I think it is an appropriate acquisition considering the market and what it ultimately ended up costing for a team that is 3 games under 500, but is also somehow only 3 games out of the division lead against a team to which they already own the tiebreaker against. So, again, it's not meant to be splashy. Not every move has to be, but Ward is a good player who has been productive in different ways, really, over his entire career. And this is a guy that we talked about a lot because he always seemed very Mariner-y. He was very Mitch Haniger coded. He was kind of the poor man's Mitch Haniger, which we talked about. And if he wasn't an Angel for 5 years, I feel like he probably would have been a Mariner for a couple of years at this point. This is a very Mariner-y type of player to go get. Now, obviously, the power concern is legit. There's just not a lot of it, and I don't think you can count on it coming back this year. But one thing or a couple things that are really nice about Taylor Ward is, one, he hits the fastball, and the Mariners struggle against fastballs. And if you can't hit fastballs, you're kind of DOA, right? Well, Ward helps with that. He hits fastballs. Number 2, this is your easy leadoff hitter against left-handed pitching. And you don't have to worry about the Victor Robles and the Rob Refsnyder and, trying to figure out, are we going to hit JP left on left in the leadoff spot when he comes back, if he comes back, or we're going to leave Cole Young up there. This is the guy. He extends the lineup. He pushes down maybe a Cal Raleigh to 7th or 8th or whatever. Or maybe, if Cal's turning things around, he had a pretty good game yesterday. If he starts to turn things around, you could put Ward towards the bottom of your lineup and stack that on base percentage for the guys at the top. So this is a guy who can hit pretty much anywhere in the lineup. My hunch is I'm very confident he'll hit 1 against lefties. Against righties, he could hit number 2. He could be the number 2 guy against righties because he's going to get on base. He's going to draw walks. And we know that the power is there. He just hasn't accessed it this year. So it is one of those things where it's kind of an interesting profile because this is a guy who used to be 25 home runs, kind of league average-ish on base and hit for some average. This year it's very little home run power, very little slug, but elite on base and elite walk skills. And so is there kind of a middle ground the Mariners can find? I don't think they're going to ask him to change anything. They're going to be very comfortable with him being a near 400 on base percentage guy. That's going to play just fine. He is an average defender, can play either corner, average-ish. Certainly better than Randy Arozarena defensively, but he's not a Gold Glover. And I think we know the Mariners could not care less about outfield defense at this stage. They never have before. Why start now? He was incredibly cheap to acquire, which we'll get to in a minute here. And it just checks pretty much all the boxes. It doesn't prevent them from doing anything else, because if, I don't know, another outfielder should fall into their lap or something, some opportunity presents itself in the last hours before the deadline, Ward still works because of what you gave up for him, he still works as a fourth outfielder, kind of, super platoon guy who can play against righties without any hesitation, but will absolutely destroy lefties. So he fits. This is a really good fit for this roster, and it's exactly the type of moves that we wanted them to make. We've been talking, Ty and I don't know if we mentioned it on the show or not. I'm sure we have it in passing at some point. This season feels very 2023 coded. And if you guys remember, perhaps the most critical we've ever been at this front office was at the 2023 trade deadline, when they traded Paul Sewald away and then did nothing else. Well, the Luis Castillo trade was kind of Paul Sewald coded a little bit, and then didn't hear anything for a couple of days. And we're sitting like, is that it? Is that it? Well, now they've made the type of move we wanted them to make in 2023 as well. And it sounds like they're not done, or at least they don't plan to be, according to multiple Kramer, Jude, all the local guys.
Yeah. We'll talk about that a little later on, but yeah.
So they have kind of been trying to thread this needle, buyers, sellers, kind of sit in the middle here. And this is a buyer move, no question about it, but it is of such little risk to them that there's basically no shot they don't end up, being just fine.
Yeah. I got fooled by a fake deal. I saw a Jacob deGrom tweet, but it wasn't real. Sorry. Continue.
Wow, the Mariners getting Jacob deGrom. Wow. Okay.
No, it was to the Braves. I was like, whoa. But yeah, no. It was fake.
Well,
anyway.
we do have a Bowden tweet here that says the Mariners are not done. They're still looking to add another bullpen arm. So pretty much just echoing what we already heard from the Mariners beat guys. But again, we'll see what happens. They definitely have room for another bat. We've heard from just about everybody that they're still interested, or they're still pursuing bullpen arms. And we've heard from just about everybody they're still listening on Hancock and Kirby. So we'll see if anything comes. But it does seem, for perhaps like the first time ever, deadline day is actually an active day for the Seattle Mariners, which is new. They're active at the trade deadline, just not typically on the deadline day. But
Mariner Muse put out a tweet earlier today listing all of like the actual deadline day acquisitions the Mariners have made. Yeah, JT Chargois, Edward Bizardo, Matthew Boyd, Kirk Casale, Jake Lamb. That's all the deadline day acquisitions that they've made since 2021.
Yeah. So again, we'll see if they have another move up their sleeve. I would be pretty surprised if they didn't land a bullpen arm. And then it kind of comes down to, do they trade a starter? And if they do trade a starter, is it a prospect dump, or is it some kind of 2026 help coming in that deal? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't have a good feel for that market anymore. Not that I ever really did, but yeah, Taylor Ward, really good ad. He is a guy who, again, going to hit leadoff against lefties. I would guess probably either second or like sixth against righties. He just lengthens that lineup, gives you a good at bat, is a decent enough defender. You don't have to worry about him late in games or anything like that. And he is a significant upgrade over what you've been running out there in right field pretty much since the time Luke hurt his elbow. Ward is a significant upgrade over all those players. And it also allows you to comfortably DH Dom Canzone without really any concern, which is where he should be playing, getting a majority of his at-bats. So the Ward deal, the Ward fit, it's great. It's awesome. And when you factor in what the Mariners actually gave up to get him, it's a really good deal for the Mariners. And it's reasonable. And, I was driving around earlier this morning, and in front of the show, Stacey Joe Ross, I think, put it best. It's measured. It is a reasonable, measured move. And it is exactly the way you want the Mariners to operate based on where they are right now in the standings.
All right. So let's talk a little bit more about the return. Talk more about Ward's fit, all that in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Longtime Mariners podcast is brought to you by Amazon. This back to school season, spend less on your kids with Amazon. We all know how crazy the back-to-school shopping experience can be. It starts with a few items on the list, then suddenly you're shopping for supplies and clothes and lunch gear and tech and about 10 other things you didn't see coming. It adds up fast. Like when your kid spends days planning the perfect first day of school outfit because they want to make a great first impression. You end up putting almost as much thought into it as they do. At least the first day photos are worth it. Or how about when it's 9 p.m., the night before school starts, and somebody suddenly remembers they need folders and notebooks and markers and apparently 12 other things nobody mentioned until now. Nothing gets the heart rate up quite like emergency school shopping. And I'm convinced that Prime's Deliver Tomorrow Before 7 a.m. feature was created exclusively for parents in this specific moment. So remember, with Amazon's low back-to-school prices, just spend less on your kids because every dollar you don't spend on them is a dollar you haven't spent on them. Shop back to school at Amazon and spend less on your kids. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen for all things Mariners. And also thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. So the Taylor Ward trade is now official. It's by the time that you're watching this, it's probably been official for about an hour or so. But it's official now. Taylor Ward is a Seattle Mariner. Alex Hoppe, Brock Moore, and Harrison Kreiling going to the Orioles. What do you think about that return?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Also, by the way, the Rays have just acquired Liam Hicks. So deadline is pumping up, and that is a move that I'm a little bit concerned about for the Mariners, but really the first one that an American League team has made that I'm like, ooh, okay.
Stove
but
is
anyway,
hot, fellas.
yes, yes. But anyways, yeah, the return again, I think it's reasonable. Ward is a rental who has his warts certainly, but we know that the rental market, it just doesn't really change all that much anymore. You're just not going to get all that much for rental bats, particularly corner guys. So yeah, the fact that Ward goes for Brock Moore, who I liked, he was in my top 30. I've been a fan of his since the Mariners drafted him. Hoppe, forever and almost friend of the show, I guess now. Yeah. Hoppe, we've certainly seen him flash, and he looks like a big league reliever who still has some things to clean up. And then I'm going to be honest, Harrison Kreiling. Yeah, I vaguely know him because of Mariner Miners post. So
I had no idea who he was.
Yeah. So
before the trade,
he'll probably end up being the best player in the whole trade. But
I think it was Jonathan Mayo from Pipeline who had the return first, and I saw that name and I was like, is that like a made up player? Like, is that like, who is that? I was literally I cover this team for a living. Literally never heard of Harrison Kreiling, and he's had 4 appearances in pro ball, 3 of them being at the complex league.
Cut to 4 years from now when he is like Matt Brash on steroids, but
right.
Whatever. For now, again, you give up Brock Moore, reliever. You give up Alex Hoppe, reliever. Upside relievers, sure. Good stuff. Lots of good stuff from those two guys. Trouble finding the strike zone. Their ceiling is a reliever. Neither of them are going to be starters ever. And these are the types of guys that, not to be blunt about it, but they're replaceable. These are the guys that you replace every single year in your draft class. These are the guys you replace every single year on the waiver wire. And so, yeah, there's some upside here. Again, Moore was a top 30 guy for me, bottom end of the top 30, but still, good reliever. But this is totally reasonable, and it's honest. It's less than you gave up for Naylor. It's less than you gave up for Gino, and it's very measured, and it's a reasonable return. And it's funny, we talked about the Mariners have for years they were not interested in rentals, and you and I talked about like they're overvaluing club control, and there is like value to be had here. And what we've seen over the last couple of years is the Mariners are interested in rentals now. They very clearly view this as part of their window and they're open to it. And B, rentals are probably the way to go because they're so cheap to acquire. They really don't cost all that much. And so that's probably the smartest way to go. If you have your core built, and the Mariners believe they do, then supplementing it with rental trades at the deadline makes way more sense than trading for, 3 years of club control for a guy. Now, obviously, things matter, but like you'd rather have Taylor Ward at this price than trade, like Emerson Hancock for Ramos, for
Right.
Elio Ramos. Like
Yeah,
you'd rather have Ward
absolutely.
at this cost, right?
Ward's a
So
better player than
yeah,
Ramos.
it's a
Yeah.
really good yeah, it's a really good deal for the Mariners. Again, it's not a home run. It's not, a woodshed type of trade or anything like that, but it is trading from some depth, trading from some guys that you can easily replace over the next 6 months, trading for a guy who, more had a shot to help you this year, but really struggled with walks when he got promoted, and Hoppe, who's been an up and down guy for you, with Sir Anthony Dominguez added, with what sounds like very likely another reliever going to be added. And then at some point, maybe Anderson and Sloan, maybe Matt Brash at some point too. It's just like you weren't going to be relying on Moore or Hoppe this year. And so you take a shot
Yeah.
here on an everyday player for two guys who might be eighth inning types if everything works out really well for them, but are more than likely going to be the back and forth for a reliever, sixth inning type of guys, because that's what most relief pitchers are. So it's a really good deal for Seattle, and Baltimore gets a little bit of upside that could help them. Hoppe maybe right away, and Moore certainly next year. These are two guys who are going to factor into their bullpen conversation right away for a guy who they were going to lose in free agency, and there just wasn't that much of a market for. So I think
Yeah.
I think Baltimore did okay here. I think the Mariners did very well. I think both sides got exactly what they wanted.
Yeah, I mean, like I could be, I could talk all about how surprised I am that they went down the rental route, but like when it's this cheap, why the hell not? Especially when you do have a real shot at winning this division still, in spite of how poorly this season has gone for you.
Mhm.
Like this to me, like all due respect to Alex Hoppe and Brock Moore and Harrison Kreiling, and I like Brock Moore, and I think Alex Hoppe could eventually be a good reliever too. And once again, I know nothing about Harrison Kreiling, so maybe he could be good. Yeah,
Hoppe certainly
but
flashed this year too.
yeah, but like all due respect to those guys, but this to me is nothing for the Mariners. This is nothing to give up for a guy that could have a real impact on this club here over these final 2+ months. And with Ward as well, and we've talked about this for a while now, like, the Mariners typically like to get guys in, and then if they like the fit, they'll actually explore keeping them long term. And Ward is a guy that we've talked about is very Marinery, and I could see a fairly similar situation to Josh Naylor playing out here with Ward over these couple of months, where it goes well and the Mariners want to keep him long term, especially with Randy Arozarena likely going elsewhere this winter, because I don't think Ward is going to make as much as Randy. I don't think he's going to command as many years as Randy on a contract. So I think there's a potential here, and this is not something that you factor into the trade, but just like trying to look, down the line here a little bit. I think this is a guy that could be in Seattle for a while.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. Again, you and I have speculated. We don't know for sure, but you and I have speculated that the Mariners have liked Ward for quite a while, and that they would have likely acquired him if not for the Angels' grudge against Jerry Dipoto, the last man who actually got them to the playoffs. So it is a possibility that this could be more than a long-term thing, but the Mariners didn't pay for this to be a long-term thing. They made a very reasonable trade for a rental player. And, if Ward comes to Seattle and he kind of goes on a Josh Naylor run like Josh did last year, yeah, it's definitely possible. This could be a guy that they look at and be like, hey, you know what? We're going to lose Randy this offseason. We have Arroyo in left. Let's just sign Ward up to play right field, and there's our outfield next year. So, yeah, I wouldn't rule out the possibility that an extension could be done, or I guess technically Josh wasn't an extension per se, but
No.
we know that the Mariners do like to do this with guys that they're thinking about targeting in the offseason. They're like, let's have a little bonus here. Let's get him in the clubhouse. Let's see how he fits and all of that. And let's get a feel for this guy. And, we know that they were going to pursue Josh Naylor in free agency, whether they traded for him or not. That kind of feels like this is the case here. And it's nice when it lines up that like, hey, this is a guy we wanted to get anyways. And now we get this kind of like trial run with him in our clubhouse and all of that to see if this is maybe a potential long-term fit. And if it is, cool. If it's not, that's fine too, because we only acquired him for 2 months. We only paid the cost for 2 months of Taylor Ward. So it's very reasonable, and we'll see. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at all if Ward ends up playing his way into the Mariners' plans of 2027, much the way Josh Naylor did.
So what is next for the Mariners? Is anything next? Are we going to be doing another show here in a few hours talking about another new Mariner? We'll go over that in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. Locked On Mariners is brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. Just make your free pick for who you think will hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games, whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league. Every game has someone capable of going deep. Now you get the chance to make your prediction before first pitch. There are certain players where every at-bat feels like something big could happen. That's what makes Daily Dingers fun. You get to back the player you think is ready to go deep that day. So, are you ready to play your game today? Join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play Daily Dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of MLB. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, we have a Patreon. It's called Control the Zone. And on there, we talk Mariners, Seahawks, all that good stuff. For more information, go to patreon.com/Control the Zone. Link in the description of this episode. So for quite a few of the recent Mariners deadlines, even in the ones that they've just absolutely cooked at, they haven't been able to put that cherry on top. Last year, it was not being able to get the Yohan Duran trade across the finish line, right? I would really like for them to be able to put the cherry on top of this deadline because they could really use another high leverage reliever. They could use more bench help. And according to pretty much every beat writer that covers the Mariners, they're still looking to add. Ryan Divish has said it. Adam Jude has said it. Daniel Kramer has said it. Kramer specifically said that the Mariners feel confident that they're going to make at least one more trade, if not more.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
So, if not more, I mean that's exciting.
Ellie De La Cruz, anybody?
Yeah. Kramer said specifically the Mariners believe they still have another trade or another move in them, if not more. So there you go. And they are actively seeking more bullpen help, which Kramer and Divish, like they've all said, like they kind of expect that to happen closer to the actual deadline, which is at 3 p.m. Pacific.
About 4 hours from as we're recording.
Yeah. And maybe like 3-ish hours. We'll see how long editing takes me, but about 3-ish hours or so from the time that you're probably watching this, if you're watching the premiere, of course. So a lot of rumors are flying now. You know, it was radio silent last night. I mean, the whole market was just so quiet last night. Now we're seeing it just, you know, the floodgates have opened now, and there's just so many trades happening right now. It's kind of hard to keep track of, especially as we're also trying to record this episode. But we're going to try and do our best here and just talk about what could potentially happen. And by the time that you're watching this, maybe something has happened here. So we'll see.
I mean, heck, 24 hours ago, the Rangers were buyers. You know, and now they're shopping Evaldi, they're shopping Latz, they're shopping Seager. It's like, are they shopping Wyatt Langford? Because I might want to have a conversation there. But it really is a wild day, and good because the lead up has been pretty slow. But I think Mariner fans should be pretty happy to learn that the Mariners are still actively looking and they're still shopping, and they don't feel like they're done yet. And, we've also, along with they're looking at bullpen help, we've also continued to hear from just about everybody that they're still listening on Hancock and Kirby. So it is also a possibility that they trade one of those guys. Now, again, because they've acquired Ward, because they've acquired Dominguez, does that mean that if they trade one of those guys, they're okay getting just a prospect package? I don't know. I honestly don't know. Like I said, I don't. I've kind of at this point just been like, if they do it, let me know. Otherwise, I'm kind of done talking about it. But Yeah, there are going to be a lot of teams that are going to be interested in starting pitching. We saw Jose Soriano get traded to the Blue Jays of all teams this morning.
Yeah.
Which again should be a good reminder that Hancock and Kirby are not just going to appeal to the teams who are obvious buyers because of their club control. So just keep that in mind as we, hurtle towards this trade deadline. Ultimately, I still feel like neither of those guys gets traded. I think those are really complicated deals, especially Kirby. I think that's a really complicated deal to get done with only about 4 days to work on it from when they first put him on the block. So
it is interesting, though. I think it was Rosenthal. I sent you the screenshot of it earlier this morning.
Stark.
It was Jason Stark. Yeah, reported that like other clubs would be surprised if the Mariners didn't trade one of Kirby or Hancock before the end of the day.
Yeah. So again, we'll see. Well, we don't know. We don't know. Again, those are complicated trades to work out, and the Mariners, as much as we want Cade Anderson to be up at the big league so we can watch him pitch, there's still innings limits that they need to be worried about with him and all of that. Yeah. So like it's just like, oh, well, you trade this guy so Cade Anderson can pitch the rest of the year. He might be out of ammo in early September, and then what are you going to do? So just something to keep. And also Mariners rotation, not the picture of health. Especially since you've traded Luis now, who is like the healthiest guy amongst them. So anyways, the Mariners still looking for bullpen help. It sounds like is what's most likely to happen here. I think they could still use another bat, more of a role player bat. But if they want to get an everyday bat and find a way to make that work, fine. It's just the only spots I see like everyday opportunities open now are shortstop or third base. And there's just not a lot of those guys out there.
So the biggest thing that's been reported by Ryan Divish, outside of what we've talked about so far, and Adam Jude as well, is that the Mariners have talked to the Padres about Mason Miller, and so far the Padres have asked for Cade Anderson, and as expected, the Mariners have gone no, we're going on it. I don't know if they've countered with, hey, we would do Kirby, we would do Hancock for Miller. I don't know, but I would personally. So we'll see. Maybe the closer we get to the deadline, maybe the Padres switch up on that. But they did just go land Robbie Ray, so they have addressed their rotation a little bit.
Yeah,
Padres have. So I don't know. We'll see. But Divish has also mentioned a couple of relievers that are not Mason Miller in that Padres bullpen who could be of interest to the Mariners. Adrian Morejon, who is a rental, but maybe the best left-handed reliever in all of baseball, and Jeremiah Estrada, who's under club control through 2029, but has had some velo dip issues as of late. So I have to wonder what's going on there. And that might be something a little too sketchy for the Mariners to pursue. So we'll see. But some names to consider there.
Yeah. I would also keep in mind Luke Weaver, Jeff Hoffman, two guys who are making some money, which the Mariners have cleared from their payroll with the Luis Castillo trade. So two guys who would definitely help in the back end of the Mariners bullpen, certainly more than Sir Anthony Dominguez. Again, if Dominguez was the second reliever they acquired, like the second best one, like very clearly we get on here at 3 whatever, because the Mariners have acquired Morejon, which makes Dominguez the number 2 reliever they acquired. If it's Ward, Morejon, and Dominguez, I think that's a really, depending on what you give up for Morejon, because he is a rental reliever, but the rental market for pitching seems to be higher. Like you get more for pitching rentals than you do offensive rentals, particularly bullpen guys. But
it hasn't been as much of a seller's market as advertised.
This is a buyer's market, man.
Yeah, who's gotten like an absolute haul?
The Dodgers just acquired Chris Bubich. So yeah.
Okay. Wow.
It sounds like the Red Sox are probably going to get Adley. But yeah, Liam Hicks, who is a offensive catcher, right? The best player that went back to the Marlins was Braden Taylor.
Yeah.
Who Pipeline has as their 16th prospect, the Rays 16th prospect. I think Fangraphs has them at like 7, so some discrepancy, but like not an elite prospect for multiple years of a left-handed hitting catcher. Right. Like oddly, the biggest player to be moved, at least prospect wise, one was traded for Tarek Skubal, who is an outlier of outliers on this market, and the other one was traded for Jose Soriano.
Yeah, like the Angels did pretty well for themselves in the Soriano deal.
Yeah.
So
I
like there's that, but for the most part, yeah, there hasn't been a return that I've just like that has just made my jaw drop to the floor.
No, everything seems to be about what you would kind of expect for this amount
Yeah,
of
the
club control for this type of player. Like,
yeah, for as much as we've talked about like, oh, there aren't that many right-handed bats and blah 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 blah, like it's been the same. I mean, the Taylor Ward return is
yeah,
about the same as it was last year for Gino
definitely
and
see
Naylor.
why the idea of shopping Randy Arozarena didn't stick that long.
Oh
Because
yeah,
if
that's
that's
the
what
other
Taylor
thing to
Ward's
mention
worth,
here is that
yeah,
yeah, that, like obviously this I think it was safe to assume that this was the case when they went out and traded for Taylor Ward, but yeah, it was reported that they're going to keep Randy.
yeah. So it's a buyer's market, man. It really is shaping up to be a buyer, which is weird because everybody's a buyer. But def- despite the fact that there have been so few sellers, I haven't seen anybody overpay for a player. In fact, I've seen a lot of players go for what I would be considered to be surprisingly low returns, like Liam Hicks, for example. So if it is a buyer's market, then you might understand why Jerry and Justin pivot because
Yeah.
it was bleak after Friday night. Like it was, we text each, they're sellers, like they're sellers. And then is it just because they had 2 walk-off wins after their bullpen blew what should have been pretty easy wins in all 3 games of the series, but they won 2 of them, so all of a sudden we're buyers again? Or is it just like, man, we keep on waiting for this market to reward sellers, and it's just not happening? Is
Yeah.
I mean, that seems to be a possibility here. So if it is
Well,
a
and it felt
buyer's
like with
market,
how well, and it felt like last night with just how quiet it was that like everyone was just in a standoff,
mhm,
and something had to finally give. And I guess the buyers won that staring contest,
yeah,
at least so far.
The Dodgers gave up Carlos Duran for Chris Bubich. Like,
So it also makes you wonder, like, are you actually going to be able to get something that's worth trading Emerson Hancock or George Kirby?
yeah, I don't again, the only player who has been in the same bucket as
Yeah,
Hancock or Kirby that has been traded for anything that is like, "Oh, okay, that's pretty good," has been
yeah,
Soriano.
yeah.
Like,
That's a
everybody
pure
else,
prospect return.
yeah, and so, again, it's just one of those things where it's like, do I think the Mariners are willing to take a pure prospect return for one of those 2 pitchers? I still don't. I still don't.
Hmm. Yeah,
Now again, could the Ward trade change things? Sure, and if they get like a Jeff Hoffman for prospects later, could that then change things? Where it's like, okay, well, we've kind of done our shopping. Now let's trade this bonus arm for prospect hauls and stuff like that. I guess that's possible. But yeah, I continue to be, at least with about 3 hours to go as you guys are listening to this, give or take. It just looks like a buyer's market, which is not what we expected. And so hopefully Jerry and Justin are willing to, this is what we talked about. You got to be kind of fluid here. You got to be water. You got to go wherever the flow takes you. And right now, it's a pretty good day to be a buyer so far. I will say the one other trade that I was kind of surprised at the return, Luis Ariz. The Giants got a legit pitching prospect for Luis
oh,
Ariz
yeah,
for 2
yeah.
months of him. So that's kind of the outlier. So it really is kind of a weird market where it's a lot of 15 to 30 prospects moving hands,
Yeah.
not a lot of top 5 prospects moving hands. So we'll see if the Mariners want to dip their toe in. Maybe there's a Tyrone Taylor, or maybe it's Ty France, or
Yeah.
maybe there is that type of bat. Maybe it's Gino Suarez because they really need a third baseman and they could get Suarez for a bucket of baseballs and like 15 cents. I don't know. Uh, but it does feel like there's an opportunity to get at least one more bat, which I would like ideally to play shortstop or third. But yeah, the bullpen is where they seem to be focusing most of their attention. And there's options out there, and it doesn't sound like it's going to cost all that much to get that bullpen arm either. So go get
No,
2.
it's the thing that they really need to do. Bench help would be nice too, but
Mhm.
like they
It's kind of a
need another
bonus at this
reliever.
point, sure.
They need
Yeah,
another reliever.
because I think reasonably now, because you have Ward, you can look at the bench and be like, okay, well, Arroyo is going to be on our bench. Donovan's going to be on our bench, or whoever Donovan's playing for that day could be on our bench. Except Donovan might have to be your third baseman every day now because JP's hurt.
Yeah, so, I mean, right out of the gate, and Donovan is expected to be activated tomorrow.
Right, along with Dominguez and Taylor.
Yeah. So right out of the gate, Donovan, I would assume, is going to be your third baseman.
Well, especially since Ward's probably going to be your right fielder, right?
Yeah, and then eventually, like, we'll see, like, is Rayleigh able to come back? Is JP actually able to come back? Like, we don't know. So, but like,
which is why I would, if you could get a third baseman, like just a solid third baseman. I don't know who that is. There's not a lot of them out there, but if you could get that, and you can move Donovan to a pure like rotational platoon role where he plays a little bit. He plays 5 days a week, but it's at a different position every day.
Yeah.
Like then at that point, you don't really need that much more on your bench. So the bullpen should be the priority still. But if there's a third baseman out there, like if you can get even Xavier Edwards and play him at third base, or maybe the clouds open up and Otto Lopez is actually available, or Zach Neto is actually available. Like if you get a third baseman, that would be great. But because there's not that many options, I just think that the bullpen is where they're going to focus most of their attention. And that's probably the smart decision just because of the lack of availability of third base or shortstops on this current market, as far as we know.
Yeah. The last thing that we should mention here is that Ward's arrival likely spells the end of Rob Refsnyder's time in Seattle.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Rob Refsnyder get traded here in the next couple hours, maybe to Boston.
Probably just for cash.
Yeah. For like literally nothing. But like, I wouldn't be surprised if we, if the next time we talk to you guys, we're talking about like, hey, they also traded Rob Refsnyder for cash considerations or a player to be named later or whatever. Also, or like a 27-year-old reliever.
Right. Maybe an Alex Hoppe. Somebody who's going to be Rule 5 eligible this winter. And it's like, look, we're not going to put him on a roster so you can have him. Also, that logic could apply to Victor Robles, but at least Robles can run a little bit. And
who's your backup center fielder?
Yeah. So I wouldn't say it's a guarantee for Robles, but if a team comes calling, the Mariners are going to listen to that. Certainly they will. And maybe part of what they trade for, maybe they trade Hancock and what they get is a fourth outfield type. But there's going to be at least 3 new players on the roster on Tuesday, which Ty, I believe you'll get to see the debut of Taylor Ward, Sir Anthony Dominguez, possibly a reliever, and maybe, just maybe, Ty, Michael Arroyo.
And
are you bummed that you entirely missed the Rob Refsnyder era? And that's got to eat at you a little bit.
And I'm also like thinking like, maybe later this week, Kate Anderson.
Maybe.
Could be fun. Could be fun.
However, you would have to trade Hancock or Kirby.
Which that like emotionally is not fun.
No. Although scientifically, I'm very interested to see what either of those guys could get. So I'm like, kind of just want you to trade one of them just so I could be like,
okay. I just kind of want to see it.
I just kind of want to see it. Like if you could tell me like if you don't trade them, but like you leaked like, hey, this is what so-and-so is offering, like that's fine too, but that doesn't really happen. So it's like, I just want to trade one of those guys.
Yeah. So real quick, let's go over the plan here before we get out of here. And we need to get out of here soon because like who knows, the Mariners are probably going to do something while I'm editing the show. But if they wind up not doing anything, then this is going to be your show for the day. I don't know what we're going to do about tomorrow because I'm traveling all tomorrow. I don't know if Colby's going to do a solo show or we're just going to wind up talking to you guys again on Wednesday. So we'll see. You
guys got a show on Saturday. You got 2 trade episodes this week. Probably take tomorrow off. Plus I'm going to see Spider-Man tomorrow. So kind of need all day to recover from that. I'm going in the morning. We'll be back Wednesday. If you're a Patreon subscriber, then I'll probably end up doing a show tomorrow, solo show as Ty travels. That's just easier for me to edit and then get out there for you guys. So it'll probably be a solo show tomorrow on Patreon. And then we don't know what the rest of the week's going to look like. Ty's going to try and record, but he's also on vacation. So, we'll definitely record. I'll be free on Wednesday. It's just tomorrow I'm traveling for 9 or 10 hours. So, and I gotta be, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to sleep tonight because I have to be up at like 3:30 to go to the airport. So call Ty Kelly Kapoor because he's too excited to sleep.
Yeah. So we'll see on that, but hopefully we at least see you one more time before then.
I think we will.
Talk about another trade. Could be fun.
Yeah. If that trade does happen
Mm-hmm.
Before the deadline, I think we'll just wait until post deadline to talk about all the moves the Mariners make. By the time we stop recording this episode until the deadline passes, if they make 3 trades, we'll talk about all 3 in the next episode, which will be out probably around 5:00 Pacific time. So yeah, you guys are I feel very confident you guys are getting 2 episodes today.
All right. That is going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. For Colby Patnode, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time, hopefully later today. Peace.